Hello, my name is Jason J. Rock Houston. You're listening to Under Influence, and tonight we're speaking to my good friend Rocco Fonzarelli. And Rocco, of course, the last time we interviewed you for Under Influence, you were still a member of Kissed Alive, and I don't know if you want to go into any details about why you decided to move on with that band or not. Do you want to let the people know about that, or would you rather talk about your new project?
Yeah, I mean, that's what, you want to turn them. No, it's funny because, when we were talking last, I was 90% sure I was going to quit, but you just never know.
Yeah.
And then I just was kind of giving it a chance. But anyway, yeah, I just think we had a different vision for what we wanted to accomplish. And it's nothing else. I mean, but, I think that was the main reason. I just saw myself doing other things. But since we last talked, I actually did a corporate gig for Jack in the Box, which was phenomenal. I got to do rock and roll all night with the guy that's actually Jack in the Jack in the Box commercials on stage. So it was awesome.
How cool is that? Now, how did that gig come up? Did somebody from Jack in the Box, get in touch with you, or how did you guys get involved with that?
I have three different agents that kind of find me work as far as that goes. So, corporate parties are always looking for a different way to kind of have fun at their party. And I don't know if you've seen the Jack in the Box commercials lately, but he's the latest kind of ad campaign is kind of a rock and roll campaign. So he's in a band called Meat Riot, I think is the name.
Oh, that's it.
The hit single is Hot Mess, so it's like an 80s hair band, and he
okay, yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I seen that a while back. Now, is there any video footage of you at this event, or did you take any photos with the guy dressed up as Jack?
I have some photos. Yeah, it's kind of tricky because it's all internal, so they kind of keep that under wraps.
Oh, okay.
I have a few things I can send you if you want to see, but it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. And I got like a full laser. I mean, they really went all out because they had, I jammed with the band from the commercials, whatever their name is. Meat Riot. Yeah. So, but they gave us a full laser show. Like they had like a full laser show for rock and roll all night. So it was really neat.
Yeah, man, that's totally cool. Now, also, I got to tell you, Rocco, in regards to the first interview you did with us, it was one of our most popular interviews on the site. So I'm really glad to be talking to you again tonight. People just loved that first interview you did, and we also interviewed the drummer from Kissed Alive shortly after we interviewed you, and his interview came out really great, and those are two of our most downloaded interviews. So,
wow.
So I'd like to really kind of catch people up to date on what you've been up to since leaving Kissed Alive. Now, you were telling me when we were preparing for this interview and getting it set up that you got two new Kiss tributes. You want to tell us a little bit about both of each of those tribute bands?
Two new ones, yeah. We have an all-male version of Kiss, obviously, called Kissed Army, Kissed, and you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Kissed Army. Come join the Kissed Army. And it's kind of an all-star guys. I mean, we have Raleigh DeVore from The Who Experience as Peter Criss. We have a guy named Rob Valentine from Platinum Kiss as Paul, who looks just absolutely, he looks just like him. It's crazy. He's really...
Yeah.
And then, we still have, and then Randy Rowe from Kissed Alive is actually part of this as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then me as Gene. And then we have a band called Co-Ed Kiss, which is two boys, two girls, me and Raleigh DeVore from The Who. And the two girls are from a really popular Kiss tribute called Priss, who they actually just did the Kiss Cruise, and Paul and Gene actually handpicked them to play the Kiss Cruise. So that was it's really cool. And I tell you, those girls really rock. They are really good. So, and we have our first show I think you're coming next week. And then our first Kissed Army Army show is in March at the Fly Bar in the afternoon on the patio.
Well, yeah, and talk a little more about Co-Ed Kiss, because, like you said, the girls I know are from an all-star, not all-girl tribute, Priss, which they've been around a number of years. I think they've even appeared on Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, so they're actually very Kiss endorsed. And I want to talk a little more about Co-Ed Kiss, because I actually think, I'm surprised that's something that Gene Simmons hasn't thought up, how did you get the concept for this Co-Ed Kiss? Because I think it's a really great idea.
Raleigh, our drummer Raleigh was actually the first male in Priss. I think they had lost their girl drummer, and they had asked somebody to fill in. And then him and I became really good friends. Just over time, I think we have a lot of mutual friends. He plays with the Elton John tribute, Kenny Metcalf. And he's friends with a lot of friends of mine. So they said, hey, you really need to meet this guy. So we met, and he started kicking the idea around, and he said, it'd be really cool. And then I went in, and we jammed a couple times, and it's just so cool. It's really good, because man, those girls are just, they're really, you can tell they know every era of Kiss. They're not just they don't know just one thing. They really know the whole catalog, and I really appreciate that. And that's what I like about our other Kiss Army as well. Is we're not we like every era, and I think we went over that last time. I like to play the whole entire catalog take from the entire catalog.
Yeah, and that's very cool, and the fact that even Kiss themselves don't do that. I mean, when you go to a Kiss show, you might get you might get something Look It Up or I Love It Loud or even Heaven's on Fire from the 80s, but it's pretty mostly even Kiss giving you an all 70s show, and so I think it's great that a band like you guys are able to kind of you have the ability to play the whole catalog, which I think for many fans is a cool thing when they come, because again, even when they go to a Kiss show, they're probably not going to see Kiss playing a song like Shandy or something like that unless they're playing in Australia where that was a really big hit. Yeah.
Exactly. And like I said last time too, I still at some point, and I see it happening with probably Co-Ed Kiss, maybe more so than Kiss Army, but being able to do some off the radar kind of songs is just so cool. Just throw it in. It would be really great. But we kind of have a set list already set, because we want to play the songs that people come to hear. Of course, you're always gonna hear Detroit. You're always gonna hear Love Gun. You're always gonna hear Shout Out Loud and Rock and Roll Night, obviously.
Yeah.
But those gems in between, it's just finding those, picking those out, and just kind of dropping them in to see how the crowd reacts. Because, like I said, we've done. Let's see, I think we've tried Almost Human, or we've tried Sure Know Something, which is one of my favorite songs. We've done. We worked on what's the one from? I'm drawing a blank now. But You Make Me Rock Hard from the '80s, which is one of my favorite songs. I know it's weird, but it's kind of silly, but it's one of those things where it just, once again, it's something new and different to people who are maybe used to the normal Kiss show,
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the other members now. The girls that are in Co-Ed Kiss. You got the girl that plays Paul Stanley. I believe her name is Moa Henriksen. Interestingly enough, I recently interviewed her for Chaotic Risk magazine, but she's also got an original new band called Dead Heroin. So not only these other people you got in the band very talented, but I want people to, anybody out there that thinks, tribute bands are just, they're musicians that maybe make a living playing other people's. First of all, it takes a great deal of talent to put on a show like what you guys put on, because it's a little more than just the music, but also you got to get made up, and this is really rock and roll theater. But anybody that doubts anybody's musicianship, I just say like I say, Moa, who plays Paul Stanley, she's got a great new band called Dead Heroin. There is nothing like Kiss music. It's full blown on metal, but it's great stuff. And so I just kind of want I just want to put that out there.
All the time.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know how you even have time for me, you know?
Yeah.
Because she's always out there and she's always jamming. And myself too, I have original music that has not, like, isn't like anything like, you wouldn't believe it kind of thing. It's kind of so removed from rock and roll and Kiss. It's more along the lines of like Prince and Justin Timberlake. So
okay, what's that?
It's kind of funny.
So
I can send it to you if you want to hear it.
Yeah, but do you have a Facebook page for that if people want to check it out or anything like that? Or
yeah, I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have like I went in the studio with the producer of the last two Santana albums, I believe.
Oh, okay.
His name is gosh, I'm drawing a blank now.
That's all right.
Jeeves. His name is Jeeves.
Okay.
And he is just one of the best like pop producers I've ever heard. So went in the studio and did like 3 singles, and we were trying to get them on a soundtrack here and there. But they're still relevant, you know. I think it did. It was like the last time I was in the studio for original music was 2010, and it's definitely not Kiss, but you know the thing that's influential of Kiss is just kind of the showmanship of it all. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You won't hear it in the music probably, but the effort that goes into it, I guess, is Kiss inspired. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, even Kiss, like we were talking about, has kind of been all over the map with their music. I mean, they've had their little pop element. I mean, even if you play like stuff on Unmasked, even something like Talk to Me, that's a little more poppier than some of the classic stuff like on Destroyer and that. So I could see how that Kiss influences and some of your original stuff. And kind of a last thing I want to touch base with you on, Rocco, before we really start the interview tonight, which like I was telling you, we're gonna you told me your all-time favorite Kiss album is Rock and Roll Over, so we're gonna talk about that album in great detail in just a few minutes. But I recently attended this thing down here in Long Beach, California, where I'm from. It's called Larry Palooza, and it was to help Larry Carnwell, who plays in Alice in Cooperland. I guess he recently had some medical issues, and it was a great charity event where a lot of the tribute bands came together to help him raise money to pay for his his medical fees, I guess, or his medical bills. And I'd seen you walking around. You posted some pictures. You dressed up as Gene, like you always do. And I think it's great when you guys like you and other tribute bands come to this event, and even the fans that paid to get in to help one of your fellow musicians out in a time of need. You want to talk a little bit about what it was like to attend that event?
Yeah, I didn't know you were there. I had no idea.
Yeah, well, like I was in the crowd and I seen you walking around, but I thought, this is a charity thing. I don't want to go and bother. I should have said hello, but yeah, I just thought it was a cool. Yeah.
No, yeah, I told them. I said, we didn't get. Well, I think I had already quit the band at that point, but and we didn't get booked for the event. But I told. I'm really good friends with Larry and his wife Carrie, and they're just like amazing people. They're the nicest people, and I've also had heart issues in the past, so I kind of knew
what that was like. Yeah.
I know it's cost. I know it's costly, and it was a surprise on it, but yeah, it's always great. I mean, I'm always up for charity kind of stuff, and I charged a lot of people got mad. Not a lot, but there were a few kind of. I charged $5 a picture to give him, to kind of contribute, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I could.
There were a few people in the crowd that weren't too happy about, paying to get in and then having to, pay $5 to take a picture with fake Gene Simmons, but it was my way of just kind of giving back a little bit, and he's just such a great person and so talented and so amazing, and it's like one of those things where I know it's kind of funny, like it's a camaraderie of there's a lot of great people in this business, in the tribute business, that don't get to do it this year, but usually just walk around as Gene and just kind of raise awareness of different things. But I've done it several times. I've done several charities as Gene. And it's really cool. It's always nice to get back. So,
yeah, I think people gotta keep in mind. I could see people getting upset, if you would charge $5 and trying to pocket the money at a charity event or something like that. But I think people got to keep in mind, this was a charity event, and you could have even charged maybe been a real jerk, charged $15 or $20. But people got to keep in mind, $5 that's not a lot out of your pocket if you really want to take a picture. It's for a good cause, So I think people got to keep that in mind. And now, with no further ado, like I say, you were telling me last time we talked about Rock and Roll Over, which is Kiss's 5th album, was one of your all-time favorite Kiss albums. So I thought it'd be a cool idea if we talked a little bit about that. First, you want to share with us, why that specific album had such a great influence on you?
Yes, I would love to. But you have to answer some questions for me first.
Sure.
To tell me what your favorite Kiss album is.
Well, I go between like 2 or 3. I actually I love Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over. I'd say Creatures, and then Revenge.
Yeah. It's funny because picking just one. I mean, right now I'm wearing my Rock and Roll Over T-shirt.
Yeah.
I had another Rock and Roll Over T-shirt that I donated to the wall of Kiss Mini Golf. That it's yellow and it's hanging on the wall at Kiss Monster Mini Golf in Las Vegas.
Oh, how cool is that?
It's signed. I can't remember. Oh, it's signed by some people, but yeah, I donated it for the wall because they didn't have a Rock and Roll Over shirt, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, and then I have in I believe it was 98, they had a Signature Series Vans, the shoes, slip-ons.
Oh, okay.
And I have the Signature Series slip-ons Vans from Rock and Roll Over. So one shoe is Ace and Gene, and the other shoe is Peter and Paul.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I listened to it today in preparation for our talk. So,
Oh, cool.
It's fresh in my mind again. But yeah, it's just my favorite. It always has been.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I was going to ask you now, like, just look, the album starts off a great rockin' way with, like, that, I Want You, which is just a great, Paul Stanley song, and even a lot of times they, when you go see them in concert, a lot of times they used to, that was one of the first songs they, hit you with, so I just think it's a great way to start off the album.
Yeah, and, I was listening to today, and the first thing that came to mind was the production value, like, from the previous album. It, like, went, you could tell they started making more money, I think.
Yeah.
And they were spending more on the production, because I thought the production value was, for the time it came out, big, pardon the millions an hour.
Yeah.
And then, Harlow, which I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It just sounds great. I mean, it just still holds up,
Yeah, and you talk about the production because, like, I'm kind of, I was kind of surprised, being the Destroyer was such a massive hit machine that it was. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't stick with Bob Ezrin. But then again, him being the perfectionist that he is, maybe if they would have gone with him, it would have cost more money to produce. What do you think?
I didn't know. Did Bob Ezrin not Destroyer? I thought he did.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm listening to you.
Oh, I thought Bob Ezrin did do Destroyer. Who did Destroyer?
No, I was saying, I was surprised when it came time to do Rock and Roll Over that they didn't stick with Ezrin, being.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I missed the question.
Yeah.
That is weird. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it was just, I look at Destroyer as like, an epic, and the songs for what, they have their hits are there, but there are some, duds. For me, there's just duds on there, So that it was, you could tell they were going for epic, but it just kind of comes off corny, maybe like I'm not a big fan of Great Expectations or what's the other one? The other Gene song.
Sweet Pain. Sweet Pain.
Sweet Pain.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, So, but I don't not like it. It's just not my favorite, So.
Yeah, I got to ask you,
But I
Yeah.
from start to finish. And I remember it's funny how when I was a kid, the songs that I like the most aren't the songs that I like the most now. If that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I think my favorite songs were "Ladies' Room" and "Baby Driver" and "I Want You."
Yeah.
And it's funny because like when you're a kid and I'm listening to kids, I'm listening to Ladies' Room thinking, why would anyone want to go in the girls' bathroom?
Yeah.
I love this song, but I don't understand why he wants to go in the girls' bathroom so bad. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. One thing I always loved about Kiss too myself was the fact that it was not the typical band where you had just one guy doing all the singing. I love the fact that even on an album like Rock and Roll Over, you got 3 of the 4 band members singing lead on here. So that's always a cool that's a cool thing. Even you even get 3 Peter Criss tracks on here. So I always thought that was a cool thing.
I'm with you on that. It's funny too because you really miss when Ace started doing songs and contributing more. You look back on the stuff he like kind of didn't put in with, I guess. Like there's no Ace songs on Rock and Roll Over, obviously, but what a like cool flavor that may have been. Who knows? But I just look at that like, wow, what a missed opportunity. But he wasn't ready, and we had to wait for him. So there you go.
And it's kind of
now, like as an adult, when I listen to it, Take Me and Mr. Speed are like my favorite now. Versus when I was a kid, it was Ladies' Room and Baby Driver.
Yeah, I gotta say, one of my favorite tracks off of this album always was Mr. Speed, and I was actually kind of surprised that it wasn't a bigger hit, but and even if you got the Kiss box set, they got a demo version on there with Bob Killick actually plays the guitar in the version that's on the box set. That's a cool thing to check out.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Calling Dr. Love, of course, that to me like is a typical Gene song, and oddly enough, I guess her stories I've heard in interviews where he talks about it. I guess he was watching a Three Stooges episode or something and wrote it kind of based around that.
Wow.
Yeah, it made it work for him.
That was another thing that hit me too when I was listening to Dr. Love is because when I'm getting ready for a show, it's more like we're listening to live tunes to hear the live versions. But listening to the album version, like adding that layer of like female background vocal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I think they've always had that maybe, but it's just really prevalent there. It's almost like gospel background vocal, if that makes sense, like a really thick layer. Talk to love. Just really, it's like wow, it's different, and they weren't afraid to kind of try those type of things, and that's what really makes them, like the true artists that they are.
Yeah, I mean, a song like that, it just gives it that little something extra, that little oomph, and even they did that again even on the next album on Love Gun. If you listen to the song Then She Kissed Me, which of course is a cover song, but they had female backup singers on that, and I thought like you said, that just kind of added something a little extra that you wouldn't get in a typical Kiss song.
Yeah. Or typical like kind of hard rock acts from that era.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, like certain songs like Calling Dr. Love. I mean, just the title, it's kind of like a typical Gene song. Maybe he thinks he's Dr. Love or whatever. You could see him or people. You could see maybe where he kind of even wrote it about him. Even like if you listen to a song like God of Thunder, God of Thunder. When you listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, that's totally a Gene song. But what a lot of people may not know is, like in reference to God of Thunder, that's a song written by Paul Stanley. And again, if you got the Kiss box set, there's actually a demo version of Paul Stanley originally did the lead vocal on that, but it was Bob Ezrin later said, you know what, I think this song is more of a Gene song. And so that's how Gene ended up singing the song. But again, when you listen to a song like God of Thunder, most people think, oh, that's a song Gene wrote, but not even the case.
Yeah, that's really cool. My first Kiss tribute a long time ago, we actually did the Paul Stanley version of God of Thunder, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We played it up to tempo, and
And it's kind of a funny.
I love that version.
And it's kind of a funny thing because, like, after all these years of being a Kiss fan and hearing hearing the Gene Simmons vocal all these years, for a collector's thing, it's kind of a cool thing to have a version of Paul Stanley doing it. But oddly enough, it's like this doesn't sound this doesn't sound like it sounds different, sounds kind of interesting, but this isn't the God of Thunder I've come to know.
Right.
Yeah.
And what else? Just later on when they did Hot in the Shade, when they did Hide Your Heart, Ace Frehley recorded a version of that, not knowing that it was going on the Kiss album, which I thought that was really interesting.
Well, yeah, wow. An even funnier story to that is, of course, Paul wrote that song with Holly Knight, who's written with Aerosmith and everybody else, and
right.
But at the same time, the same year that album was coming out, again, this is a song Paul co-wrote with Holly Knight. Ace Frehley had no idea who wrote it, but Kiss was putting it out. And also the same year, Bonnie Tyler put out a version. I think Robin Ford. So you had 4 different versions of the same song, coming out the same year.
Wow. I remember that. I thought it was she version too. That could be wrong.
Yeah.
But, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Is that a great Kiss song? I thought it was okay. And it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
That's the kind of fan I am. Yeah. I like all that kind of extra, fun stuff.
Yeah.
I like every flavor of Kiss.
Yeah.
And being Gene, as much as I love being Gene, I think I said before, my favorite voice of Kiss, of course, is Paul. I love Paul Stanley songs. To me, I like his solo album. I like his, all of the B-side, all the Paul B-sides.
Yeah.
To me, he's the voice. Of
yeah,
Kiss.
Yeah, and another great Paul track from Revenge that I always loved. Kind of got a mediocre response from a lot of fans, but it was a single that was released as a single. Video was I Just Want It. It was supposedly I forget, it was supposedly a take on some other group's song, but I really love the way they played on the words of that. I just want to forget you.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great play on words, and I always love songs like that. I think are really a great neat thing.
Yeah, I love Revenge too. That's a great song too. I love. And the thing about Revenge too is the neat part about that. I know we're all over the map right now.
Yeah.
But they brought Vinnie Vincent back to write songs or something. That's just that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love Vinnie Vincent.
Yeah, you can say what you want about Vinnie Vincent. He's probably his own worst enemy, but I will say this. The guy is talented as far as his guitar playing, and especially I think he's really gifted. Even more than his guitar playing, as a songwriter. I mean, oddly enough, like we're talking about the song "Hide Your Heart." If you research on the internet, Ace Frehley, back to when he put his band, first Frehley's Comet Band, together back in '85, he's got all kinds of unreleased demos. And back when he was playing the clubs in New York in '85 and '86, when he's first putting Frehley's Comet together, they did a version of this Vinnie Vincent song called "Back on the Streets." You could probably find it if you look for it on the internet. And it was written by Vinnie Vincent and Robert Fleshman. And from what I understand, that song was originally, written for Creatures of the Night, Never Made It. So Vinnie put it on the first Vinnie Vincent Invasion album. And I guess Ace covered Ace covered a song by the guy that replaced him, which again, Kiss is all over the map, doing these weird things. But and I don't know if talking about Vinnie Vincent too. Again, we're kind of all over the place. But just talking about what a great songwriter he is. I don't know if you ever heard Peter Criss's second solo album after he left Kiss, which is called "Let Me Rock You." There's a song on there, the single I think called "Tears." Peter co-wrote that with Vinnie Vincent, and oddly enough, if you do some research on the internet, you go on YouTube, and there's a version of Vinnie singing that song. It's just kind of interesting how a lot of these guys hooked up over years and did stuff together.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's pretty cool. I'll have to check that out. You always bring something new to the table, Jason, that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
But last time it was what was the
I think
Simmons song you told me about.
Oh, I think it was Yeah, I think it was they on the Kiss 40 greatest hit CD they put out, last year. There's this unreleased demo. It's called Reputation. It kind of has like a radioactive vibe to me, but it's really a cool track, and I don't know why they never released that. And
yeah, I remember that. That was a great song. Like, well, after you told me about it, I went and checked it out. But I love Radioactive. Radioactive, like, it's so hokey, but it's so, like, I love that song.
Yeah, I mean, oddly enough, like, if you look at Gene's solo album, I mean, to me, a lot of people didn't like it because I guess it's not what they think of typical Gene as. But I guess he was very influenced by the Beatles, and I think it's just some of his best songwriting. I mean, people gotta take it for what it is. It's a Gene Simmons solo album. So typically, when people go outside of their everyday band, they want to do things that are a little different. Like it would make sense that he wouldn't want to put out a solo album sounding exactly like what he would do with Kiss.
Right.
Yeah, and now I was saying, get back to Rock and Roll Over. Another track I always kind of loved, but I thought it was total Gene, is Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. What are your thoughts on that song?
Love 'Em and Leave 'Em wasn't, it never grabbed me, and after I heard it today once again, and it didn't do anything for me again, but it's still like, it's still in there, and it's solid, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't, I don't think there's a bad song on the album, really,
Yeah. And
now, that would just be my least favorite.
And let me ask you about the Peter Criss tracks. Okay, we got Baby Driver, we got Hard Luck Woman, and let's see, I think that's it. Now Baby Driver, that's an old song I know that he'd written with his songwriting partner Stan Pendridge that he co-wrote Beth with. Hard Luck Woman, that's kind of like I guess their follow-up to Beth, but oddly enough, it was Paul Stanley that wrote that song, kind of gave it to Peter to do. What do you think about Hard Luck Woman?
Oh, I love it. I had heard it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd heard that Paul Stanley wrote it for Rod Stewart, and Rod Stewart said no.
Yeah. I guess it was kind of, from what I've read in interviews, Paul says it's kind of his version or his take on Maggie May, which I kind of do hear that vibe going through the song. But and I guess oddly enough, it was Gene that suggested, I think that'd be a good song for Peter to sing. Now, like, I remember when they did their '95 convention Unplugged tour, I went to see that, and they actually performed that with Paul Stanley on lead vocals. And again, interestingly enough, after hearing Peter, sing the song all these years, when I listened to it, I thought Paul did announce, he's a writer, so maybe that has something to do with it. But his vocal on it was, I'd kind of like to see him maybe one day redo that song with Paul doing the vocals, because it was just as good,
Yeah, I love his version of it too. Yeah. And I played it in a couple bands. I think we're planning on playing it in Kiss Army. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's what's great about that song for a bass player? It's a real bass line. I mean, that thing, it moves really nice.
I think it's
The two songs I enjoy playing the most, I'd say as a bass player, is Love Gun and Hard Luck Woman, like, live.
And
you're really, it's one of those things where you really have to play. It's not, as far as, like, people doubting Kiss's musicianship, I guess, check baseline on Hard Luck Woman or Love Gun or something, and you can, Gene is a competent bass player, and people give, anytime I go to someone about that doubts Gene's musicianship, I say, they'll listen to these three songs. And even Black Diamond, I mean, there's a lot of cool little, bass stuff going on in there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, too, about Kiss, they fail to realize a lot of the guys are, contrary to popular belief, quite accomplished musicians. I mean, even I'm looking on this Wikipedia for Rock and Roll Over as we're talking here, and it's mentioning, Gene he does the lead vocals on some of the songs, plays bass guitar, and then on the song Ladies Room, he's actually playing the rhythm guitar on there, not Paul.
Yeah, that was cool. They switched it up, back then. Just kind of gave each other room to, add, a flavor or something, And, that just shows the egos weren't there, too, in the studio. I mean, it's just like, let's get the song, let's make it happen, and let's just, get it right. And then, when you hit the stage, obviously we can't do this without 3 other guys.
Yeah.
So, it's not like a one-man show. And, that's what I enjoy about being in a band with guys who get it, Obviously, I can't go up there by myself.
Yeah, and again,
Paul can't go up there by himself,
Yeah.
It's 4 guys, 4 massive, characters, the biggest, probably the most recognized faces in the world, maybe.
Yeah.
Arguably,
I mean, this is I mean, again, just talking about Kiss, it's what I call rock and roll theater. I mean, it's more than a band. It's more than it's more than music. I mean, it's almost a lifestyle or a religion. And I say that because, I mean, even look at what you're doing, Rocco. I mean, who would have thought that just being a fan of Kiss, that you'd grow up doing what you did? I mean, I don't think I could be talking to any, any fan of, like even a Lady Gaga fan would grow up to kind of do what you're doing. It's just, Kiss fans, they take it to the next level, and so that's what people got to realize too, is that you do what you do just out of your love for, it's so much more music than music, and I think that's the cool thing about this band. I mean, Kiss again is a band that, like you said, just the faces and makeup designs, they're so iconic, so much to the point that they've copyrighted them. I mean, what other band does that,
Yeah. Well, I think I told you about how I kind of got involved last time, but just to recap, I went to see Randy Rowe is our really. I went to see his original Kiss tribute. I wasn't involved with them until their bass player quit. He is now the bass player of my Rob Zombie tribute.
Okay.
Other interview.
Yeah.
But I went to see them, and they were like, hey, we're just gonna do a night of Kiss. We're gonna just, put the makeup on and go play Kiss songs. And I was like, oh, I can't wait, And this was kind of before. This was probably 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of before the whole tribute thing kind of came in full force. Because I think, tribute bands are just, are kind of taking over, and there's probably a really good reason for that, but later too if you want. But going to see somebody, and the makeup was bad, the costumes were bad, but there's something magic about it, And as soon as the bass player quit, Steve, and he's the bass player of my Rob Zombie tribute. I was like, I want in, I want to try this, and I never thought about it. I was an Ace Frehley fan at that point, so I couldn't see myself being anybody but Ace if I was going to make a Kiss tribute, or to do a Kiss tribute, and I just remember thinking, okay, if we do this, we gotta do Firehouse, and you gotta let me breathe fire, because that's gonna have to happen. Like, that's the deal.
And so let me ask you.
And it kind of just took over. It's been so. I mean, it's just so much fun. It's and I said this before too, but it's not any. For me, there's no ego. It's just I'm there to celebrate with fans of the band, of the music. You know what I mean? And I'm just kind of leading the songs. Let's all sing along together,
I mean, it's kind of like the actual Kiss guys have said, many times before. We're just the guy. We were fans like everybody else. We're the guys, that were in the audience, jumped up on stage with our guitars, and we've been doing it all these years now.
Yeah.
And that's exactly. Yeah. That's exactly kind of the same story you got. Even though again people are missing the point. When they it's just tribute bands. They're just failed musicians. Playing other. Again, I dare them to go. Check out one of your bands, because again, like you said, there's a reason that tribute bands are so successful. But like anything else out there, Rock. I will say the cream rises at the top. I mean, there's thousands of tribute bands, not just here in LA, but all around the world. But half of those tribute bands are not going to last for one reason or another, like you were saying. But then you take a band like Priss, and there's a reason that works. I mean, Priss is definitely, while they're playing the same music, they're not like every other Kiss tribute band. I mean, they're one of the, one thing they got going, okay, they are an all-female band. That's a little something different than what you guys have to offer. But then on the flip side, if somebody goes to check out your new band, Co-Ed Kiss, that's a great thing. Half, co-ed, half female, half guys. That's another new thing that you really don't get to see too much of. So I think, like anything else, the best bands are going to survive, and the ones that aren't as good are going to fall by the wayside.
It's just kind of giving people a different flavor, and it's a different way to kind of celebrate the same, thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're still celebrating the greatness of this band and all they had to offer, and then you get a little more. I don't know. I can't explain it really, but there's an added bonus. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever seen the Iron Maidens, but it's so great.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy to watch girls, guy songs, like totally rock and roll, men, dude anthems, and they kill it, every night. It's just so cool to watch. And the first time I worked with Co-Ed Kiss, we just kind of looked around the room and went, yeah, this is really going to work, for whatever reason that is. They have a great, those girls have a great voice, but they both have great voices, and, you have, it's almost like Kiss meets ABBA.
Yeah.
But I'm just kidding. But I just see, it's just like, it's just this explosive sound. It's just a new, flavor of, what you're used to, and it's gonna be great. It's really gonna be great. And we both of our side, I guess, we went to them, and we kind of went back and forth and said, this isn't gonna be our main project.
Yeah.
But this would be such a great thing to do, and we both agreed, both sides, both boys and girls decided. Because when you're in a Kiss band, it's like no girls in the dressing room, and then when you're getting ready anyway.
Yeah, well,
Wait.
the thing about.
So now, and then, so this is going to be a really neat, experience, I think. But we'll see.
Yeah.
The first show, Friday.
Yeah.
The 20th. So, February 20th. So, we'll see if it works.
Yeah, well,
I think it's going to work.
I think it's going to, I think it's going to work for a simple fact. There's nothing like that out there. I mean, the closest maybe is, like you said, Priss, and you mentioned earlier that the girls in Priss, well, I think the last 2 years they've actually played the Kiss Cruise. Do you have any hopes of maybe trying to be one of the bands to play next year? Or have you even considered that?
Well, of course I've considered it, but I think Paul and Gene have to consider it.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is...
But yes, I would definitely say yes if I was invited.
I guess what I'm asking is do you know from talking to the girls, since they've played the last couple of years, what's the process? Do the Kiss people have to approach you? Is there an auditioning process you have to go through? I was just curious if you knew about any of that.
Well, I think that from what I understand, they were hand-picked. But,
Okay.
I don't know that they didn't really talk about the process. They just said how fun it was.
Yeah.
And I believe they learned the entire Rock and Roll Over album, it's an entirety from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they played on the cruise. I could be wrong. That's
Okay.
from what I understand. But
Okay.
we don't really, when we're in the room together, we're usually playing.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been a lot of
Talk,
back and forth yet. But this weekend we'll have a room to ourselves, putting the makeup on. So I'll probably, get a lot more info so I can come back next time.
Yeah. So
see what happens. But
yeah.
But if you want to give them a call, but yeah, as far as I know, they had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And apparently it's really fun. So I imagine. I mean, you're on a boat with, 1,000 Kiss fans or whatever, and Paul and Gene are there, and, everybody's having a good time, so.
Yeah, and I was even reading Cheap Trick actually played this year too on the boat as well, which was kind of a cool thing because they when they on their first tour, I guess, just starting out, they actually had opened for Kiss, so that's another cool thing I guess that they did this year.
And that's one thing that I think we did it once, and I think we did it on a weeknight, so it didn't really draw, but we had our friends Cheapest Trick open, and it was such cool. Not like this is the we were talking about doing the Alive 2 album, start to finish kind of thing, or something along the lines of that tour, and just to do, just to have that. And it's funny, every time I mention it to a promoter or something, they're so down for it, and then it just never happens. So that's definitely a future goal,
And now let me ask you, Rocco.
Have a Cheap Trick.
Yeah, let me ask you, Rocco. In reference to your other new band, Kiss Alive or Kiss Army. I guess I'm confused because when you tell me about the other new band earlier, you're playing with the idea like Kiss Army, Kiss Alive 2. Or have you decided to just go with Kiss Army?
Kiss Army, yeah, KISSED.
Oh, okay.
They're actually in a band called Kiss Army that I've actually played with before, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Kiss Army, and I joked Kiss Alive 2 because when I pitched it to our agency, they were like, "Oh man, that's a great name. We love it," So, but I was like, I don't want to. I want to be a separate entity from the past because it's just a whole new band almost.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be it's so fun. We've already talked about kind of set list and let me ask you this: when you go see Kiss, what do you like? If you could have like kind of a dream set, you know what I mean? If you could pick the set list for Kiss, what would it be?
Well, I kind of like what you're talking about. A set list that's kind of all over the place. Like, I mean, I love the classic stuff as much as anything. Definitely I'd want to have like, you got to end the show with like Shout Out Loud or Rock and Roll Night or something like that. And then maybe, Throwing a Hard Look Woman or Beth or even something, like World Without Heroes or something that you wouldn't typically hear. I'd like to hear, at least a little something from, throughout the whole entire 40 years. Now, of course, you can't do that in probably like, I don't know how long your set is, but it's something like a little something from the 70s, 80s, even up to Revenge. I think to get all, because even if you go to see a real Kiss, you're not going to get that. They're going to play mostly like you said, what everybody wants to hear. You're going to get your Shout Out Loud. You're going to get your Look It Up and Rock and Roll All Night, but you might not get you might not even get something off of Creatures of the Night. So I'd like to hear something kind of all through the ages. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always good to hear that little surprise, especially if it's done well. But like my dream set would be like your average Kiss listener versus your average Kiss fan. I think my dream set, no one would even, the average Kiss listener probably wouldn't even, know the songs versus a Kiss fan. But it's always nice to like if you had a request for like a Kiss tribute band to play something just for you, what would it be? Like, would you go classic or would you go 80s or?
I guess it kind of depends on my mood, but I like something right off the top of my head. One thing I think would be cool because it never actually happened with the real Kiss is like, even though you guys are all made up as a classic Kiss, I think it'd be cool like to have something like Little Caesar in the set or something from have each guy do something off each of his solo albums or I think that way each guy would kind of get a moment to shine in the show. I think that'd be a cool thing.
So we talked about Rock and Roll Over, but let me ask you this: I know I sound like the interview guy now, but
no, that's cool.
What's your favorite '80s Kiss album?
Oh well, I would have to say ultimately Creatures. Probably my all-time favorite. Yeah, from the '80s.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's great. I mean, obviously it's a great album, but like I think if I had to pick like the first time we talked, I picked like my top 3.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
Which is, but I Asylum's probably my favorite 80s Kiss album. Just Tears Fall is like one of the best, I think, just hands down, just written. And it's a classic Paul vocal too. He stays low,
Yeah.
And low and lazy, I think, and it's really neat. It just resonates. I mean, his voice is so big.
Yeah.
So.
And
but yeah, I think I liked every song on that album. Like, let's do it start to finish.
Yeah, and I guess again, not being the typical Kiss set. Another song I would really think would be cool, but a lot of people might not even know what it is. Again, if you go back to the box set, there's this great unreleased track. Oh, it's I can't remember. But it was recorded around the time of Creatures of the Night, and it's a song that's I can't. It's right off the tip of my tongue. I can't even think about it. But yeah, it's this great unreleased track. Wendy O. Williams did a version. King Cobra did a version. Oh, It's My Life. It's My Life. That is one of the best all-time Kiss songs. They even re-recorded it for Psycho Circus, but it didn't make it onto the album. I never knew why they didn't.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's like.
You gotta send me that. Remind me, because I gotta check that out.
Well, you can, if you got, I don't know if you got the Kiss box set, but you can even go on YouTube and type in "It's My Life."
Okay.
And back in the 80s when Wendy Williams was really big, she did on her solo album, from Plasmatics, and they re-recorded for Psycho Circus, and actually, if you listen to the version that's on the box set, Ace and Gene kind of Gene's the main guy, but Ace and Gene kind of trade off on lead vocals.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But, I stick to maybe that's what meant. No, doesn't make me a true Kiss fan, but I stick to the commercial releases, I guess. But,
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'll find something online that I didn't know about.
And see, that's a great thing about Kiss. Just they got so much stuff that in the vaults is never even seen a light of day. And you hear this stuff online when you're researching stuff, and it's like, man, I can't believe they didn't put that on or talking about Asylum, even a song like Love's a Deadly Weapon. That's a great 80s track. A lot of people may not know about it, but that's another song that was written around the time of The Elder, and for one reason or another, they just they waited till '85 to put that on Asylum.
Which one is it?
Love's a Deadly Weapon. I mean, there's like demo versions if you go online, and I've read stuff where that's a song that was originally recorded like 1980, 81, written back then. It was originally intended for I guess The Elder, and there's a lot of unreleased Elder demos. If you go online and look, it'll come up. A lot of instrumental stuff, but just never made it onto the album, and you could kind of see, okay, as great of a song as Love's a Deadly Weapon is, maybe it was too heavy or something for an album like The Elder.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Let us get this on Killers. What was your favorite new track off Killers?
Oh, I'd like I like Nowhere to Run, but my all-time favorite I'd have to say is Down on Your Knees.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and again, what people might not know, because again, Ace was on the cover of that. It's actually Bob Kulick that plays on those new tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened a lot, I hear.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's cool. Yeah, I think I'm Legend Tonight is probably like when that came out. I remember liking that song a lot, and that's what's funny is I always follow. I didn't care. I always followed them. Like I didn't care that they had new members ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I got to ask you, Rocco, being that you're in a, it's kind of a funny thing to ask, but being that you do the Kiss tribute thing, as a fan, how do you feel about Eric and Tommy getting up there in the classic Ace and Peter makeup? I mean, myself personally, I don't really have a problem with it because, again, I tell you, I've seen Kiss on their last couple tours. They still put on a dynamite show. I think I might have more of a problem with it if they were getting up there and misleading people, thinking that was still Ace and Peter. But I think people going, they know that's not Ace and Peter. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, we talked about. I think we talked about it last time, but yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's if you want to keep the momentum, you know, I don't think the members, you know, Peter and Ace really actually kind of keep up. I mean, Ace, you know, claims he can, but you know, I don't, you know, and you know, it's like Gene said. I think, you know, I think Ace has quit the band twice, or but I mean, you know, you can't keep the business of Kiss running with, you know, members of that aren't gonna kind of
stay focused. Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of like it's a different like what I mean. Even at the tribute level, from where we came from with the last band was, you know, we have two different visions of where we want to be and what we want to do. And I think that maybe that's what happened too, you know. Gene had a vision to keep going and at the pace and level that he's used to, you know. You know, it's, you know, it would be nice to have the original guys, but you know, I think we said last time, my favorite era was Eric Carr and Vinnie Vincent. I mean, if I could have that one out, you know, every night, I would be really happy.
And what's sad about it, and you know, what's sad about it is, you know, as talented as Peter and Ace may be, like you said, there's a reason they're no longer in the band. I mean, there's, you know, if Kiss owed all their success to, you know, Peter and Ace, I mean, I think there'd be a lot more Ace and Peter solo albums. You know, they haven't actually kept up with the, you know, heavy stream of you know, albums that Kiss has been putting out, you know, all these years. So you know, and I think there's a reason for that. I mean, you know, Peter Criss is a decent singer. He can belt out a decent tune, but at the same token, you know, I don't think he's as, you know, gifted of a songwriter as Paul and Gene. I mean, can he write a song? Probably. Yeah, I would say so. But again, you know, there's a reason, like, you know, Paul wrote Hard Luck Woman and gave it to Peter. You know, it wasn't necessarily a hit because Peter Criss sang it, if you know what I mean.
And you know, going back to Rock 'Em All Over, Baby Driver, if you listen to the vocal, it just reminded me of, it almost sounds like early Judas Priest. Like, he had like such a great rock voice. I mean, to me, it reminds me of, like, you know, like kind of Diamonds and Rust, or you know what I mean? It's like early Priest with that. You know, he's singing these lyrics, you know, Baby Driver. I have no idea what it means, but I loved it when I was a kid, and then rehearing it in the last few years, it's just like, wow, that guy is like got a great voice and had a great voice. You know, I'm sure he still has a great voice, but yeah, it's just like, there was definitely a personality. All four of them had a dynamic contribution to, you know, obviously to
what they
music industry in general, like as wide of a scope as you could reach. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, there were the Beatles and there was Kiss. You know, there's four strong personalities that the world recognizes. You know, so you know, he's definitely the two of them are definitely as recognizable, I'd say, as, you know, George and, you know, so so, but you know, but you're right. Did they contribute? I mean, Paul's in the, you know, from the 70s through the 80s. I don't know about more recently, but it seemed like Paul was like prolific, you know, prolifically writing. So, versus, you know, and it's just like, I think it may be a different philosophy, you know, because it's like you start with the best intentions, and then once you get a little success, you get a little lazy. I mean, every band kind of takes that dip, if that makes sense. In their writing, as far as but yeah, they seem to put out strong material, and when they couldn't say write, you know, the smash hit, they brought in writers that could and co-wrote with them. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I never had a problem with that.
I mean, even you take a guy like, you know, Desmond Child. I mean, there's a reason he's, you know, he's had the success he's had. I mean, but you know, he's written with everybody from not just Kiss, but Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, you know, and so, you know, the talent's there. You know, you definitely can, you know, belt out the hits. But I mean, Paul Stanley, he hooked up with Desmond Child, you know, way back in 1979, before any of these other artists were hooking up for him. And oddly enough, you know, when you bring up Kiss and the Beatles, I mean, it's interesting that Kiss was so influenced by the Beatles being a hard rock metal act because, oddly enough, I think Kiss has outsold the Beatles with the most gold records in the United States. So that's kind of an interesting fact right there.
Yeah, and looking at the song as far as like songs, I'd never say Kiss per se are better writers than Paul and John Lennon, but they prolifically put out great songs that people bought.
I mean, they've been doing it for 40 years, and you say what you will about Kiss, Gene and Paul, but they're prolific songwriters. I mean, you listen to anything. I mean, even one of their more heavier tunes. All the tunes have got great hooks and great catchphrases. Which is needed to have anything played on the radio, and they've been having stuff played on the radio for the last 40 years. So they were not a one-hit wonder or a flash in the pan, and there's a reason for that. People would not be listening to this stuff if it didn't have the hooks and and all that.
Yeah, I agree.
And talking about Baby Driver that you were talking about a little bit ago, what a lot of people may not know is that is a song that I understand Peter Criss recorded back in his pre-Kiss band Chelsea, like going as far back as 1970. A lot of the tunes that he had that wound up on Kiss albums were written with a guy called Stan Pendridge, and oddly enough, and so a lot of the stuff Peter Criss did was written with this guy Stan Pendridge in the band Chelsea early on, and a lot of the tunes didn't make it onto what Chelsea did, but later on in Kiss.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think I knew that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of neat to hear, like you said, the voice, and that's what. If I'd say one thing is lacking from Rock and Roll Over, how cool it would have been to have one great Ace song on Rock and Roll Over,
Yeah.
It's like, but other than that, I love it, and I'd say I'd probably tie it with Love Gun. Like Love Gun's probably my second favorite 70s Kiss.
Yeah, and then then you do have Ace, on Shock Me that, and the interesting thing about Ace is in a lot of his recent interviews he's done, to promote his new Space Invader album, he talks about how a lot of early stuff he wrote, like even going back to, people may be surprised to learn that it was actually Ace that wrote stuff like Parasite and Strange Ways. A lot of his early Kiss stuff, it was really a lot heavy, not what you think of typical Ace. Like Parasite, people probably think Gene wrote that, but a lot of it, from what I understand, back in the day, Ace was not as confident in his ability to sing lead, and so he'd write this stuff and bring it into the studio for the band to check out, but he wasn't a confident enough singer to do it, and so he just give his stuff to other guys to sing, typically Gene or Peter, and that's how they wound up singing his tunes.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so cool about Ace, like Ace shows, when Ace plays solo, because he'll sing the songs he wrote. I love Ace version of Parasite, like with his lead on it. It's great. It's always great to hear that. And even singing the hits, man. I think he does do live too. It's really cool to hear him do that.
Yeah, and
just as cool as it's cool to hear Paul sing "Hard Luck Woman." Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and from what I understand, he's got Richie Scarlett back in his band that played on, sang some of the songs and the guitar on "Trouble Walkin'" back in 1990.
Oh wow!
And he actually gives the guys in his solo band kind of a spotlight. The bass player and Richie and him, they kind of take turns, like you said, singing different Kiss songs. And I hear Ace is currently working on a covers album, and he hasn't really announced what the songs are going to be, but he's hinted that he may rework some of those early Kiss tracks that he wrote, like Parasite and that, and do them with him singing. So that'll be a cool thing to check out. It's supposed to come out later this year, or that's what the word is on the street right now.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I remember just as we're talking about different Kiss band members, Paul, I forget his name, but Paul Stanley's guitar player on his last tour.
Bob Kulick.
Is it?
Bob Kulick?
No, it was the other guitar player.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I did an appearance for something. I can't remember. It was Tony Franklin Franklin from the Firm.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember the Firm? It
Yeah.
was like Jimmy Page's band.
Yeah, yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
They're so good. The drummer for, gosh, it's escaping me now. The drum, King's Addiction.
Okay.
And the guitar player for Paul Stanley's solo tour. They have a trio.
Okay.
And for some reason, I showed up in jean makeup. I can't remember what it was. I think I was coming from an event, and someone said, hey, Paul Stanley's guitar player is going to be jamming with Tony Franklin. Tony Franklin's like one of my favorite bass players of all time. Like, when I first saw him play with the Firm, I mean, I didn't see him live,
Yeah.
but I had the vinyl, and I was like, oh man, So I'm coming home from this event, and I'm like, should I go over there? And I stopped by, and they were just like, dude, we were gonna put, the Kiss, we were gonna put the Kiss drum head on tonight. They didn't know I was even coming, and they were just like, I couldn't believe, like, these are real rock stars that wanted to take a picture with fake Gene Simmons. So I was, and it's just like that kind of stuff, that the world, that the fans are always celebrating the band.
Yeah.
The real Kiss.
Yeah.
So it's just really neat to see that. Stephen Perkins is his name. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Drummer for Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
He was so excited to take a picture of fake Gene, and I was so excited to take a picture of real Tony Franklin.
Tony Franklin, I gotta tell people, he's just one of the greatest session, bass players. I mean, he's played not just with the Firm and Jimmy Page. He's played with Blue Murder. He played on, Quiet Riot album. He did Whitesnake for a while. He's been, and then before we end this, I just gotta tell people he recently put out this, it's kind of an all-star band he's in with Carmine Appice and Joe Lynn Turner. It's called Rated X. They released it on Frontiers Records. You can go on any of Amazon.com or any of the big retailers online. But just if you're really into classic rock, it's a great kind of rock album. But Tony's one of the great unsung heroes as far as his bass playing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. That's where I was going with this. I didn't mean to change the subject, but the people that the real famous people that have seen me as Gene are even knowing I'm not real Gene, excited about, but just the paying tribute to Kiss. Kyle Gass from Tenacious D, Zach Wilde. I was at the Vegas Rock Awards.
Wow.
A few years back with Zach Wilde, and he was like, Uncle Gene, and gave me a hug, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, I love Zach Wilde, and it was just a really neat experience. Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction, Tony Franklin from, I say he's from the Firm, because
that's
that was one of my favorite bands when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My dad had the vinyl laying around, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, how cool is that? Yeah.
It's really neat to, it's funny because you think in the makeup and you think it would scare people, but it just brings a smile to people's faces.
You must get that all the time when you go out in costume, because I gotta tell you, the last time, this last year when I seen the Kiss and Def Leppard show at Irvine Meadows out there in Irvine, California, there was this guy, just a Kiss fan, not even a guy in a Kiss tribute band, made up as Gene, full Gene attire, looked the part. People were just going up to him, hey man, can I take a picture of you? He wasn't even charging people. It's just all for the love of Kiss, all for the love of Gene Simmons, and it just amazed me. I went with my cousin, and we're like, man, that's not even a real Gene Simmons, and people are just dying to have their picture taken with this guy. It's just something about Kiss.
We're still putting out pretty quality stuff there,
Yeah, well,
hopefully get one or two more albums out of them before they.
I hope so. I really hope so. Well, Rocco, I could talk to you all night, but I know you're busy. But I can't believe we've been talking for over an hour. But man, once again, you've given me really just a great interview, and before.
It's funny because I'd probably, I know what I think. I'd rather hear what you think more than what I know. But anyway,
No,
you seem to have more of the knowledge than So
you know what makes this great? You know what makes this great is like we're two Kiss fans talking, and you know we're helping you promote about your band and your projects. But the cool thing about it is, like I've interviewed a lot of people, even famous people. A lot of times, you know, this is more fun than you know, talking to somebody like it just gives you yes, no, yes, no. I mean, even when you listen back to this, you can see how easy the conversation flows, and it's not forced, and that's what I dig about this, you know.
Well, that's really kind of you.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
There's the Chris Jericho or something. He did an interview about it's something. He listed like the worst Kiss songs or something,
Yeah.
and like 5 of them on his list are like my favorite. One being "She's So European," so that was really upsetting to hear. So, yeah, it's pretty funny that fans range the fans like you mentioned, "Love 'Em, Leave 'Em." That's one of your favorite tracks, and it's like not my least favorite there. So it's funny how every fan has a different perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously all love the hits, but like the B sides that pick and choose because
Yeah.
my dream show would have like All Hell's Breaking Loose and Who Wants to Be Lonely and Radar for Love and She's So European,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, the cool thing is like a lot of Kiss fans. I'm a type of guy that even like if Todd Howard, anything Kiss related, Todd Howard, oh, that's the guy that he played with Cheap Trick and Ace Frehley. He's putting out a new album. I'm going to check it out. And that's how a lot of Kiss fans are. And anything, even the slightly slightly Kiss related, I always have to check out.
Yeah. All right, well, that's fair. Well, hey, it was great talking to you. Keep in touch, and let's talk about Rob Zombie next time on the Zombie Tribute Calls.
Yeah, I will. We will.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ZombieWoodBand.
We'll get that set up sometime within the next week or so. And in the meantime, good luck with all your projects. And I'm going to come check out your band Coed Kiss next week. A lot of other great bands on the bill. So I want to again, after that show, kind of talk to you, also about how the show went and what the experience was like. So we'll be talking down the line, Rocco. Thanks so much for taking time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, cool. And come see us. Obviously, I think so we'll be in we have a hotel room at the Golden Sales. Come up and see us, and before or after, and you can sit down with the girls too. I'm sure they'd be excited to talk to you because they have much more interesting tales, I'm sure, from the boat.
Okay, yeah, we will do that. So take care, my friend, and good luck with your show next week. I'll see you there.
Okay, thanks, bud.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.